like a pursuit in progress. Stu Mundell up in Sky Fox with the latest. What's going on?
Oh, Tony, we got a pursuit out here in South Los Angeles. It's a blue Toyota Camry. It's a stolen vehicle. They were following it for a little bit. The problem this morning is they have a lot of weather. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about that fog out there, making it a little difficult for Sky Fox to actually keep up with this vehicle. There it is, right there, making a hard turn. Whoa! Almost into oncoming traffic right there. So we're getting back onto Florence now. We're heading westbound on Florence. You can see that vehicle. He had his lights on earlier on. He turned his lights off, just making the situation even worse for any of the other vehicles out there. It's a little slippery. You can see the roads are just a little wet. Another hard turn right there. Now it's coming down southbound again on San Pedro. That one unit basically just kind of keeping up, doing what he can to stay with that vehicle. Lights and sirens. That's probably going to warn at least some of these folks out here what's going on. Again, one of the reasons why Sky Fox so far away and we're losing it behind buildings, we have weather issues this morning up here. It is very foggy. LAPD, well, they can't even launch their helicopters because their base is actually sitting out there in the fog. Really high speeds. This is just making me so nervous on these side streets. Look at that car. This is one of those ones where you just don't even want to joke about it because it could end so tragically. Look at those speeds out here. Empty streets right now, but, you know, just one or two cars. That's all it's going to take.
Well, and Stu, you pointed out a couple of things here. The fact of the matter is it is foggy and it's still dark out there. So, I mean, that just adds to the danger of this pursuit. This guy is traveling at a high rate of speed. We don't know if it's a guy at this point, but we do know, Stu, right, that this is a stolen vehicle, and obviously we have at least one unit in pursuit.
Well, that one unit might have backed off after that last incident that we just saw where that vehicle moving at those extremely high speeds going through a solid red. Thank goodness nothing happened right there, but that's what the LAPD, this is what the law enforcement has to deal with. They're going to have to actually, that officer is going to, you know, I'm trying to listen on one ear to see if they're actually going to discontinue it. He had to slow down, turn on his lights and sirens, wait for that clearing, but this vehicle moving extremely fast out here. Right now it appears that there are no units on the ground following, so there is no reason for this behavior for this driver. You know, this is the time where this guy or gal should slow it, basically get his thoughts together. Whoop, up, and into the, there you go, into the grass. At least he hasn't hit anybody. That's going to be the big plus on this right there. Whoa! Well, he just hurt himself pretty bad. I saw that. And he basically tried to jump over that fence and took a pretty hard tumble. There's LAPD right there behind him. So they were keeping up the best they could. Right now, this coming to an end on 108th. You can see the streets right there, 108th and Palm. You know, the last spot we saw them, maybe you guys have a better monitor down there, was right there by that truck inside that property. It looked like he took a hard tumble trying to get over that fence. But 108th Street, 108th Street.
We'll have to take your word for it, Stu, because we couldn't see anything under the cover of darkness there.
I'm sorry, Tony. It looks like I thought those were law enforcement units that were pulling up, but it looks like a concerned citizen there thinking that something's up with that one car, but that's the last spot we saw him right there. I believe our pilot this morning, well, I know our pilot is Jose, but he's actually giving the information to somebody right now, trying to get an officer over here to this location. So 108th and Palm is where we are. Yes. Okay. Justin says that the suspect is still crouched down by that vehicle on the passenger side of that SUV. But right now, that's the last place we saw that suspect, right? And I believe law enforcement are making his way over to this intersection. And it looked like there was a concerned citizen that I thought was law enforcement, but apparently these are just concerned citizens that might have seen that crash, thinking that maybe somebody was injured.
Stu, can you tell us again what you just saw? So we see the car stop. The driver gets out, and he was trying to climb a fence. What did you see?
Well, it looked like he, basically at that top corner right there, he tried to jump over that fence, and it looked like he caught his foot and face planted into the ground. And that was the last spot where we saw him. Can you, hang on, go a little bit wider, Justin, just a little bit wider. Let's take a look at the car. And see what's going on. There we go. Law enforcement is here. So they are talking with somebody else on the ground, and they're also hearing that the last location they saw him was that piece of property. Right now, they're going to clear that vehicle before they actually start an active search again. Thank goodness nobody was injured. We saw how fast that vehicle was going and that crazy close call through that one intersection.
Sure.
In the end, his poor driving, maybe a little bit of those wet roads, brought this to an end. The best we can say, safely. That car just losing control, going up onto the curb and getting into the dirt right there.
All right, so here's what we know so far. We believe that this blue Toyota Camry was stolen. And it ended up being a pursuit situation with at least one law enforcement vehicle, one law enforcement cruiser trying to catch up with this guy. So he bails, we believe a he, on 108th and tries to escape over a fence. According to Stu, looks like he may have face planted and injured himself. The question is, do we know where he is at this point, Stu?
No, Tony, you know, we were watching that. Justin was pretty tight on that shot, and we were keeping an eye just to see if we could see some shadows or some movement over there. The officers are shining their spotlights in that same direction. That was the last location where we saw that suspect after he tried to make that jump over the fence. And Justin seems to believe that he's hiding underneath that vehicle right there. So we're going to keep an eye on it. We can see shadows down there. It is him. That is him. You can see his arm right there. So basically, he's hiding underneath that truck. Very clever indeed. But we'll to see if law enforcement is going to be able to make an approach and get over there, or how we could get that information to them. That's the tough one right now. There are no air units flying this morning because of the weather. So basically, right now, we're just going to keep an eye on it. They're just using some of the high tech in our Skyfox to point out to the folks at home where that suspect is. But that was that's where he is. And you go a little bit wider, you can see where the car is. And the law enforcement, the officers, like I said, they're going to have to clear that car first. And I'm not even sure if they know that we see him. But it's how can we tell those officers what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's still obviously a very dangerous situation until the suspect is actually in custody, because at this point, Stu, they don't even know whether this person is armed, and so the assumption has to be that perhaps he could be.
Well, officers are all law enforcement, especially when you're dealing with somebody who's racing around in a stolen car. They're going to take that. They're going to take that idea that that person is armed. You can see those officers right now clearing that vehicle, and as far as we know, they have no idea. Look, there's some damage on that front windscreen. I wonder what happened right there. Maybe he hit a fence or something when he went up onto the curb. But you can tell that they have no idea that that suspect so close by, but just out of reach for those officers right now.
Well, we should tell you that actually we are trying to get in contact with LAPD right now and at least give them whatever information we have so that this can be resolved quickly and safely and without any harm coming to the suspect or to anyone who might not know what's going on here in the area.
Right.
It is so lucky that we didn't see any crash. This driver was traveling at incredibly high speeds just a little bit ago, and we saw multiple close calls with other vehicles at a time where there weren't that many cars on the road. That was just how fast this driver was going, Stu.
Brooke, that was amazing. Hang on, they're asking me what kind of pickup truck that is, Brooke. That's a Chevy, an older, like a 2000 Chevy crew cab with a shell. And he's right underneath. But yeah, Brooke, you know, that vehicle was moving so quickly, and it was breathtaking a couple of times. Run cold when he ran through those major intersections. We saw it, the green lights, those vehicles just flying by there, and this guy getting so lucky. But every time, there we go, officers locating that suspect. Every time he was making a turn, he was taking it too wide. We had a couple of close calls with other vehicles there. You can see officers right now got their lights on that suspect. I don't think it's going to pull it off that he was just sleeping there all morning. What do you guys want? So hopefully they got that fence between them and that suspect. It's going to be a little bit difficult for them to actually get over that fence or onto that property to take him into custody. But right now, officers definitely have located that suspect after a wild pursuit this morning. extremely high speeds and many, many close calls. And of course, with this weather we're having, we might not have rain, but those roads definitely were damp. And you saw how that car was kind of sliding around every time he tried to take a hard turn. So very lucky nobody was injured. Hopefully, and that's the thing too, he did take a pretty hard fall. Jumping over that fence. Hopefully he doesn't have any broken bones. That's being the suspect, that is.
And we're getting a better look at the fence now because of the officer's lights. I can totally see how that wasn't easy to jump.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, the hope here is that the suspect will adhere to the commands of the officers there on the ground and will follow them closely, and this can be resolved peacefully. But he doesn't even seem to be moving at all at this point.
Yeah, I think he's doing, you know, if anybody has a cat at home, it's like when you're talking to your cat, sometimes they just ignore you. That's kind of what I'm getting right there. This guy's just laying there, nodding, just ignoring the officer's commands, like, you know, maybe they just don't see me. But clearly they do. They're gonna have to get him out from underneath that vehicle. This might turn into a longer situation than we'd expect, unless they bring a canine over here. And also, you notice how the officers haven't made any approach onto the property.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, these guys have got their eyes on him, but I'm wondering if other officers have made their way onto the property, maybe coming around the other side of the pickup truck. Justin, if you can get a little bit of a wider shot, we can see if they're actually on the property.
Since they still don't know whether this person is armed or not, I mean, this has to be, I would imagine, approached very cautiously.
Very cautiously indeed. And I'm sure they're giving him some sort of directions, like, you know, let's see both your hands, move them slowly, slide out from underneath the car, anything like that. But you see this guy just laying very still down there. There is a possibility that maybe he's not talking. Oh, I think he is talking to the officers. He is talking to the officers right now. So hopefully that they're going to get him to slide out peacefully. There you go, one hand moving out, but it's the other hand that they can't see. That's what the issue is for these officers right now. There we go. He's starting to slide out from underneath the car on his own steam.
As soon as officers see the other hand.
Yeah, that's what they want to see right there. There you go. And it seems like he is cooperating now. There you go. But now, again, he's on that side of the fence, and officers have to get onto the property to cuff this suspect. But at least he is cooperating. And again, thank goodness nobody was seriously injured in this crazy pursuit this morning. Stolen vehicle on the freeways and then onto the streets out here in the south central Los Angeles area.
It appears he's going to come to them.
Yep, there he is. He actually walked over to them. Officers taking him into custody right there. They probably were able to open the fence up and walk onto the property. There's a little bit of a tree. Again, it's dark out tonight, and this morning, and we have those. We've got a little bit of fog. Might be creating a little bit of an issue, but there you go. Suspect in custody, and again, no injuries. And there's so many close calls, though, this morning when we watch this pursuit. That's for sure.
All right, well, this is the best of all possible endings, of course, with at this point, it appears no one is injured except perhaps a minor injury to the suspect when he jumped over that fence. Stu, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and we'll be back right after this.